Look, detectives combing through the hood looking for a corpse. Draco hitting. I don't think your body can endure the force. I whipped the fish up with a fucking hanger or a fork. Told that bitch, go ahead, sniff what you want. There's plenty more to snort. I had an outstanding warrant for a short. Turned myself in, rocking Louis and all my jewelry. I wore the court.
Ladies and gentlemen, Hard to Kill back at it. We're out here in the smoke pit with Corporal Joshua Sulentic. He's a rifleman and fire team leader with Bravo Company, 1st Battalion, 6th Marines. He recently participated in the humanitarian relief operation in Haiti. It was in August 2021, and then deployed as part of Battalion Landing Team 16 on the 26th MEU. He's an active participant in the Warfighting Society and has been published by the Maneuveristic and Lethal Minds Journal. I didn't know that, bro. Tell me a little bit about that. What'd you do? A short story, or are you a poem guy, poetry guy as well?
So I do write fiction pretty consistently, mostly just to practice writing. I haven't had any of that published. I published an article called Building the New Infantry in the Maneuverist that ended up getting seen by the Commandant and the Sergeant Major of the Marine Corps and was made mandatory PME.
Come on. Wow.
Yeah.
Good for you, buddy.
Yeah, blew my mind because we were in Bahrain and my mission commander sent me a text and he's like, "Hey, company commander has to talk to you." I'm like,
oh
crap,
fuck.
what do I do now? I walk out there and my worry was like, okay, they saw the article, they didn't like it. I'm about to get read my rights.
Yep.
And he's like, so I just got a text. The Commandant of the Marine Corps read your article and he wants to make a PME. I'm like,
wow.
I was dumbfounded.
Holy shit. Good for you, man. I'm happy for you.
Yeah.
So tell me what started that, man. You've always been a writer? Is it something you've always enjoyed, or did someone like push you that route? Talk to me.
Yeah, I've always been a writer. My parents did a very good job of making sure I read a lot, and I ended up writing a lot because of that. Yeah, I just found a topic I wanted to write about, wrote something about it, and Damien over at the Warfighting Society helped me out a ton with that. It would not have been able to go where it was without the help of Damien and a ton of other people at the Warfighting Society and a bunch of other great leaders.
Gotcha.
That I reached out to and were willing to help me out with that.
It's easy to write something that really means something to you, though, right? To write about something and get into it to when it really hits at home. So for all the guys that don't know what you're writing about, bring us into the mindset of a grunt and what really goes into what's your, you said fiction?
Yeah. I read a lot of military history.
Love it.
And the other thing that's more of the guilty pleasure of mine is like fantasy. So I wrote one, I got 30,000 words so far in the story that I wrote while I was out on the MEU. Not really wanting to talk too much about that right now.
Okay.
Still very much a work in progress.
Gotcha.
And then I've been working on another just fantasy story. There's really no, there's not like a specific genre or specific thing I want to write or talk about too much whenever I write. It's just whatever I feel like I should be writing at the time, I'll just start jotting down. And sometimes I, like most writers, you'll write something for a little bit and you think, wow, this is actually really shitty. And then sometimes you'll be writing something and then you finish 30,000 words later and you're like, I might actually have something here.
It writes itself.
Yeah.
Okay. So, I mean, does it hit at home a lot, like kind of about being a corporal and what goes into, being a modern day rifleman, or does it go towards the fantasy side a little bit more?
So the fiction stuff, not as much. The one I wrote, the historical one, was set after World War I.
Okay.
So the main character was a Marine. He was a private in the Marine Corps in 2-6. But it really doesn't talk much about his time in World War One. It's more
Okay.
about him trying to readjust after that.
Oh, awesome.
Obviously, I'm writing that from a point of someone who doesn't know really.
Well, at least you
Um,
know that.
but yeah, and because of that, I'm doing my best to try to avoid that cliche I always saw all the time in TV shows a lot of like that broken veteran just like
I'm so happy you realize that
unable. Yeah,
because
I
that
can't
that you
stand
do
that.
see that a lot.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm
Um,
sure you had mentors that kind of told you about, what goes into it and what they dealt with, and I'm sure you can articulate that beautifully.
I really hope so. My platoon sergeant, I'll say for one, was really good about making it more of a realistic expectation. Because some people, especially Marines who don't have that experience that he has, kind of glorify war a little bit too much.
I hear you.
I
It's
try
all we,
not
it's all,
to.
it's all they have, bro. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? Like it means a lot to guys like us that went and did it, and we don't mean to like push it on you. You know what I'm saying? But it when you finally get to the dance after practicing for it for so long, it's like your varsity jacket. You know what I'm saying?
no,
And
yeah,
I can
I know
understand how it
that.
comes off like that. I get that
Yeah,
completely.
no,
That was
my
actually that was
issue
right.
is
Go ahead.
the people who glorify war without having been there and without having done that, and they don't know what they're talking about.
You do see that a lot.
Versus people like you, people like my platoon sergeant who have been there and have done that. Like, yeah, combat sometimes can be the shit because it's a very, I don't know the right word really to use
I
for
think
it,
you
but
I
it's
think you
just
do.
different from what
It
I
is.
understand. Again, not talking from experience, from what I've been told, it's different. And the bonds you build and the brotherhood that all of a sudden you're a part of as a combat veteran is there's nothing like it. But they're able to bring in that realism of, hey, people die, like innocent people
It's
die.
not all
It's
pretty.
not, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Um, yeah, so I've been really lucky to have people who are willing to tell me about that. So hopefully when I write about it, I can do it justice
You know,
without
I
trying
talked I
to.
talked to a couple guys before you, and I think he was a lance corporal. Also, he was a machine gunner, and one of the topics was, I just want to fucking get over there. I joined for this, and it's fucking killing me because it's not that I don't want to, and I just haven't been able to get that opportunity. Is that one of those things that just eats you up? Because I hear about it a lot from like the younger guys that didn't get that joined right after. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Talk about it.
So I was on the boat deck of the USS Arlington off the coast of Haiti when I overheard them saying that 13 Marines had been killed at
Abbey
the
Gate.
Abbey Gate. It was 11 Marines, a corpsman, and a soldier, but at the same time, like not knowing that, I was like, the battalion, our company was the only one down there. The rest of the battalion was ready to go. And we got told, hey, don't be surprised if we go up to Gitmo and get on a plane and fly over to Afghanistan. We were all ready. They ended up pulling us all back,
Ugh,
and that really sucked. After that,
kick in the
the
nuts.
invasion of Ukraine, I remember watching a video of a Russian missile coming down in the parking lot and killing a little girl riding her bike. After I saw that video, I was ready to go, and that never happened. And then obviously been out on the Mew since July of last year. While all this stuff, Prosperity Guardian, everything with Iran and Yemen, Israel, the Houthis, Hamas, the whole thing, everything's going on. We're there the whole time. And it's constantly, hey, be ready to go tomorrow. Hey, be ready to go in a week. Hey, just be ready to go at any time. And it never happens.
Ugh.
So at the end of the day, we come back. We're like, yeah, we were there the whole time and didn't see anything. But at the same time, we signed on the dotted line
This is what
and
we
we
signed.
joined the
Yeah.
infantry. We were ready and willing to do what was asked of us, and we did what was asked of us. There's nothing that we can do. There's nothing that we can change to make it to where we see combat.
So how long have you been a corporal?
Been a corporal since June of last year.
Okay. Being an NCO, how do you get your guys in that mindset that you just articulated right there? You got guys that just want to get over there that don't really understand why they're not. They're starting to get maybe 2-3 years in the infantry, and they're starting to get nostalgic a little bit, or dragging their feet a little bit. Like, I just want to fucking get, like, how do you keep them motivated?
At this point, I think it can be a little difficult because we're a very senior battalion. The most junior guys, on average, we got some guys right before the deployment, but most people have been in the 1-6 for about 2 years at least. Most of us have been here for, I mean, 1-6 for 3 years at this point. And I got my first full length legit deployment last year. For some people, they just already have it. Like, you don't have to give it to them. You don't have to
Gotcha.
force them to do it. They
They
just have it.
understand.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they get it. Look, nothing we can do about this. We're here. If the time comes, we're gonna go. And for those people, I'd say all you really have to do is just keep them motivated. Don't start dragging your own feet. Otherwise they're gonna see that and copy it.
Yeah,
But you
exactly.
really don't have to do much. You just have to look over to your left and your right and like, hey man, we've got this. Just keep pushing. I gotta be honest, for some people, they're just a lost cause. Like,
Yeah,
there's
no, I hear
nothing
you.
you're really gonna
I
be
hear
able to
you.
do to get them
I get you.
to be willing to stay in the fight.
If they don't want it, you
Bonus,
can't
yeah.
want it for them. You know what I
And
mean?
and even if they do want it, I know a lot of guys who will say stuff like, "Oh, well, if I got a combat deployment, I'd reenlist," or "Oh, I'd give a crap if we were about to go to Iraq or Afghanistan." All you can really do at that point is just tell them, "Look, in Pendleton, guys went out for PT in a state of peace on September 11th, 2001.
Talk
When they
about it.
came back in from their PT, they were going to war. It is just that fast of a turnaround. If you don't maintain that, then it's going to hit you like a ton of bricks when the
Well
time
said.
comes. I assume you can't let yourself get into that, and you have to be able to look at the guys who like, hey, I know I can trust that guy. When you start to see him slack, you got to be able to go over and pick him up.
Absolutely.
Um, I've been lucky. I haven't really had to do that with many of the guys I've been around. We
They were
managed to be able
mature
to bring
enough to understand. Yeah, I get you.
yeah, we were able to bring a really solid platoon and company out on the deployment, so there really wasn't too much of a worry of that.
And honestly, that's not all it's about. I mean, that's kind of selfish and greedy to say, hey, I'll only reenlist just for a deployment. You know what I'm saying? There's
Yeah.
more that goes into it than that. You signed on the dotted line to be a Marine. That means you be ready at all times. You know, so it
Mhm.
sucks that that kind of is a stipulation that goes around, but I get it. I mean, I can understand both sides, because when you train for long enough, you want to fucking taste, bro.
Yeah.
You want to see that, you earn this Eagle Globe and Acre for a reason. Like, I
Mhm.
get it. But anyways, we kind of got ahead of ourselves here, man. So talk to me. Marine Corps. You're from Colorado.
Yep.
What did you have a mentor, or did you always just want to be a Marine, bro? Did you see that GI Joe when you were younger and you just fucking wanted to do it?
So, my great grandfather landed on Iwo
Okay.
Jima with the 4th Marine Division.
Get the fuck out of here. Wow.
Yep.
Salt
My
dog.
my uncle was a corpsman with Fellerth LAR during the push to Baghdad in 2003.
Okay.
My dad was a FMF corpsman in 8404 back in the 90s.
Okay.
And I saw all this stuff around me for corpsmen in the Marine Corps. And I said, well, I'm going to be a corpsman. And I
Oh,
had
okay.
my best buddy, Ethan, was joining the Marine Corps. So I said, you know what? I'm going to
Buddy
start going to
program.
the, what's up?
Buddy program.
Yeah. So I said, you know what? I'm joining the Navy, but I'm not in the best shape. I'm a junior in high school at this point. So I started going with him to the Pool E workouts. And I'm like, oh, these Marine guys are actually kind of the shit. So I eventually went and told my dad I'm gonna be a Marine. He's like,
Bet that
you're
went over
not.
well. Yeah.
Ended up taking me to see a Navy recruiter, and it was just this. I love foremen. I think there are a lot of really great sailors out there, but at the same time, there are a lot of sailors that are not putting out the best image they should be. And that was definitely this recruiter. Like I walked in there and I saw
Oh,
him,
gotcha.
and I was just
Bag,
like, no, I
bag of
can't do
shit.
it. Just completely unmotivated, had no clue what he was doing, had to talk to other people to get information about an HM contract, which is one of the Navy's most recruited contracts. And I walked out of there and I could see it in my dad's face. He knew that my decision
He knew it.
had been made. He knew he just made me a Marine.
Nothing he could do.
Um, so yeah, after that, enlisted in the Marine Corps, and they were like, "Hey man, you got a pretty high ASVAB. The infantry sucks. You should do something else." And I was 100% staunchly against anything but an infantry contract.
Looking back at it, you happy you did it?
Yeah, 100%. I wouldn't change
There
it
we
for the
go.
world.
There we
And
go.
I went back there recently and helped out with one of the pulley workouts because they were undermanned. And I was talking to a guy who wants to sign an infantry contract. And I'm like, look, it's going to be the absolute worst times of your life. You're going to absolutely hate yourself and you're going to regret doing it. You get out of the field, you're going to take a shower, you're going to crack open a cold beer, and you're going to be like, wow, I work with some of the coolest dudes. I get to do some really cool shit. I wouldn't trade this for the world.
Pushed it to the limit, tested
Mhm.
yourself at all angles, and you came out on top.
Yeah,
It's a good ass feeling. I hear you.
yeah. And
Okay.
people like joke about the Marines are proud of suffering as much as they are. I don't know if it's that we're proud of just getting the shit end of the stick sometimes, but we're proud of our ability to do it and be able to go back for more.
Proud to get hit as hard as possible and keep coming with it.
Yeah.
I love it. All right. So talk to me about right after boot camp, after you knocked out SOI and you get to your first unit, man. Did they welcome you with open arms?
Um, my dad helped me move my stuff in, and there was this big sergeant, and I'm like, oh, he's super nice. And he was so nice. I'm like, it's gonna be a switch like
What's
that.
going
My
on?
dad's gonna
Yeah.
walk out the door and he's gonna be like, all right, plank. And it ended up really not being like that. Obviously there was some of the typical stuff that happens.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it was not nearly what I thought it was gonna be like. It was significantly more professional. And I think as a result of that, a lot of the one sec, someone just knocked on my door.
You're good. Go ahead.
Sorry. I'm sorry about that. Can
No,
you
you're good.
ask the question
I
again?
like what you were just on though, dude, because that's something that's going on right now. It's something that like some of the old heads kind of gripe against because let's be real, hazing and some of that hard love we like to think really made us who we are as Marines. But I think the Marine Corps is going through somewhat of like a shift when it comes to that. Talk about how like that sergeant, remaining like kind of that professional and steadfast attitude and didn't like absolutely slay you or kill you. What did that make out of you?
So really quickly, I'm just gonna touch on like Marines a lot say like, "Oh yeah, I just haze these guys," or "Man, I used to get hazed so much." When especially nowadays, it's just difficult training. It's having to do something hard, whether it be a really crappy PT or You have to do a Chinese field day for your room. I don't know if you can use that term anymore, but that's the only way I know how to say it. Um, that's not hazing. It's not degrading you. It's not physically injuring you. It's not making you out to be like less of a man. Might be embarrassing, but there's a big difference between being embarrassed and being like, wow, I like it, shoving yourself into a depressive hole.
Of course.
Um, doing hard stuff is not bad. It's very good. Because it just helps you to learn your limits. It might help you to push your limits a little bit further back so you can keep going farther and farther. Hazing is bad by the textbook definition of hazing because you're losing trust in your leaders. It's showing that your leaders are kind of immature. And when push comes to shove, you're not training as effectively as you might be able to. Because let's be real, how is it going to make you, might make you a little bit tougher, but at the same time, like if you drag a kid into a room and you beer board his ass, like that's
Exactly.
not going to make him
You lose a
a
lot from that
more,
guy.
yeah,
Exactly.
you're not
Exactly.
going to make him a more effective grunt. Now he's going to be worried to ask you questions. He's going to be worried to mess up around you. He's going to be walking on glass. And now this guy's just worried about not getting beer boarded again. He just wants to be left alone.
See,
As
now
compared to,
I understand completely how you put that. And if I can play devil's advocate with you, I
yeah,
think
go ahead.
some of the old heads, the ones that know what they're talking about, know how to do this correctly, they would argue making someone operate and be completely uncomfortable creates kind of a stoic operator that can just, you know, operate while rounds are coming down range, get that gun up and just keep pumping. But I
Mhm.
agree with you completely. Some idiotic people take it to another level and you don't get anything out of that.
Yeah,
Nothing is being accomplished, but you're absolutely destroying a possible young leader, a possible young motivator that loves what he does. And you're
yeah,
completely correct. I love how you articulated that. Please talk about it a
yeah.
little more.
So like, let's go for example, something that some people might try to pull a hazing. Let's say the squad leader has a lot of autonomy over the squad, and they're just messing up patrolling and PBs and stuff. They're out in the field and it's about to rain. He looks at his platoon commander and says, "Sir, we've got about a day where we're not really doing anything. We're not doing anything tonight. Let me take these guys out. Let's patrol out, set up a patrol base. We're not hiding in tents. We're not building shelters. We're in a patrol base, pushing patrols out. Team leaders are doing their thing." It's a punishment because not being able to build a shelter when it's pissing rain out sucks. But at the same time, you're developing them, you're not demeaning them. They're
Absolutely.
getting in good reps and sets, they're being able to practice what they're doing. And at the same time, they think, maybe if I don't want to sleep in a patrol base for no reason while everyone else is out sleeping in tents or in shelters, I just do what I'm told and I don't mess up. That's not hazing. That's just difficult training. And that's saying, hey, if stupid stuff happens, we do stupider stuff, but we're going to do it in a way that's not demeaning, it's not demoralizing, it's going to develop you. It might suck, but it's setting an expectation. And if you don't meet that expectation, it's reinforced so that next time you do. Versus, hey, this kid left his rifle leaning up against the wall for a little bit. He went back and grabbed it when he got checked. When we get back, we're going to go thrash his room, mess up his stuff, break his shit, and just make him hate his life for 2 hours after we get out of the field.
Well put.
Is he gonna leave his rifle laying around again? Probably not, but would there be a better way to say, hey, you didn't meet the expectation, now we're gonna pay for it, without breaking his stuff, demoralizing him, and really just proving to him like, I can't trust these guys to teach me because they don't want to teach me, otherwise they would have. They just want to fuck me up.
Absolutely. Beautifully
So I think
articulated,
that
bro.
hazing is a bad thing, difficult training, set expectations, and then punishing people realistically, professionally, morally, responsibly as a mature adult is not hazing. It's just being a man and understanding this is a profession where if people mess up, they die.
Absolutely. And that needs to be understood. And I think you separating those two is just something that's absolutely necessary in today's Marine Corps. And that's definitely perfectly put, brother. Okay. So as a you know, a lot of people want to know this, dude. We got a lot of old heads as new guys that watch this pod. As an E4, as a corporal, as a young leader, what are some of the adversities or some of the things that you're seeing in a Marine Corps today that you have to deal with that maybe some people wouldn't necessarily see because we're kind of like unplugged from the fleet to a certain degree? Or I don't know, tell me.
There, and I wrote about it in the article that I published on the maneuverist. There is still a very heavy presence of it's cool to be a shitbag.
Oh
Like
gosh.
that is unbelievably like prevalent
First of all,
in the
talk about
Marine
that so
Corps.
people that maybe aren't Marines can understand that.
So there's this term, it's called the short timer. It was actually uh kind of coined. It was used before that, but it was coined in Vietnam, and the movie Full Metal Jacket was based on a book called The Short Timers. Nowadays, that would typically be referred to as like a terminal lance mentality of this. I regret joining the Marine Corps. I hate my life. I hate my job. I'm just going to skate out of everything
Yeah.
I can. I'm going to avoid
Status quo
training. I'm not
everything.
going to give a
Yeah.
crap. I'm going to sit in my freaking barracks room, eat dominoes, and play Call of Duty during the workday instead of being like, hey, let me crack open a pub, let me learn something. Hey, squad leader, let's go out and do some training. Or going to a team leader or squad leader. Hey, I have a question about this. I had a kid walk into my room on a Friday night at like 1800 and asked me to teach him how to write 5 paragraph orders.
Really?
Like that, yeah, like that is the kind of thing we want. Maybe not to that extent,
I hear you.
but a proactiveness of trying
Let's
to
not go full
learn
moto,
and be
but just
ready.
being
Yeah.
exactly being
Yeah.
proactive just to do that on a Friday is absolutely what
Um,
we're talking.
but I'd say that right now, one of the bigger things the Marine Corps is suffering from is so many people who are very quick to say that they regret joining the Marine Corps. And because of that, they kind of like shut themselves off. They just don't care at all. They don't care to learn. They don't care to get better. And they're just kind of riding it out. That's definitely not as big of an issue as it was. Pages like Goons Up, Maneuver Up, all those kind of like moto pages. They're doing a really good job of trying to inspire people to be good at what they do and to take pride in their job. And it's possible to say, look, the Marine Corps is not for me. I'm going to get out after my 4 years, but still be able to be good at your job.
Absolutely.
You can still be effective. You can still be a good teammate. You can still be a good Marine. And when your 4 years comes up, you're like, yeah, I'm done. Don't want to do this anymore. But yeah, I think that's really, at least for me, I haven't done too much leadership stuff as far as junior Marines. I've mostly been leading peers. And like I said, I was blessed to be in a platoon of pretty solid guys when we deployed, at least for the most part. So I haven't had to deal with that issue far too much.
Gotcha.
But I'd say that I'm not the greatest person to ask about that. It's probably better to ask a little bit more of a senior squad leader rather than a guy who's been a team leader for a while of guys that I joined the Marine Corps with.
Still, you can
And
see it.
like I said, or huh?
You can see it. You're still. I mean,
Yeah, I do see it, but like I said, that's the biggest thing I've seen. Because it's really an all-encompassing issue. This
sure.
guy doesn't care about doing his job right. As a result, motivation around him fails because attitudes are extremely
Can be a
contagious.
cancer for sure.
Yeah. He's a cancer. He creates this demotivated appearance. He starts causing problems that other people now are taking time out of their workday. Instead of getting better at what they're doing, they're trying to scramble to figure out how to get over this guy's NJP or to try to cover for him, like, hey, this doesn't need to go much higher. We have to try to control this before it gets a little out of proportion.
Yeah.
Um,
I think the problem is they make it seem like it's cool.
Yeah,
You know what I'm
that's the
saying?
big
It's
issue.
cool. Yeah, it's cool to be a shitbag. It's cool
Yeah,
to, wear shitty uniforms and not be motivated. When in reality, it's absolutely just moronic. Why are you even here?
yeah.
Why'd you sign? And I don't know if that directly correlates to the deployment thing, or you can blame it on 1,000 different things. But
Mhm.
at the end of the day, just be a man, be a Marine,
Yeah.
and don't spread that shit attitude throughout the whole, battalion. I mean, I hear you completely.
And something I've talked about before is when you were 17, 18 years old and you joined the Marine Corps, you didn't join because it was a bunch of guys who walked around, their uniforms looked like crap, and they pissed and moaned every time they had to do something. That's not the reason you joined. You joined because you looked at these guys, they looked sharp, they looked disciplined, motivated, and from what you understood, they were the baddest motherfuckers on the planet.
Kill.
You didn't join because they sucked. You joined because they were good. But now you're going to join, you're going to just phone it in. No one joins the Marine Corps to suck at their job, but they end up coming in and all of a sudden they're in this culture, the not in regs, terminal lance stuff. It's like, oh, look at that guy. He sucks at his
Yeah, yeah,
job.
yeah.
It's stupid and it's
Yeah.
immature.
Yep. It's really that they have a problem and they're insecure with something about themselves. So they project it that way. They project it like, oh, I don't give a fuck and this and that. But it's really someone that's really upset with something that's going on in their life. They
Mhm.
project it outwards. And a lot of people don't understand that. They tend to just cling on to it because they have little things going on with them. When really it's got to be more people like you, dude, that voice this. This stuff needs to be talked about so people can understand it at the level that we're explaining it. And I'm very happy that you brought it up because honestly, young people see that, and I can remember it, dude. I can remember when I first checked into a unit, and I was just happy to be there. I was excited to just start getting into shit. You know what I'm saying? And I got paired with this just absolute shitbag who was back to back NJPs, and he was trying to make it seem cool. And I remember it being confusing because I hadn't seen the fleet yet. You know what I'm saying? And I'm just like, oh, this is what it is. You understand what I mean?
No, and that was my squad for the most part. All the seniors that I was under when I first came in, I was like, this isn't the Marine Corps I
Yeah,
thought it was. I
exactly.
was under the impression of a elite conventional force
Yep.
who wanted to train, they wanted to be good, they wanted to be like the shit.
Badass motherfuckers that
They
run the
wanted to be
goddamn
bad
show.
motherfuckers,
Yeah.
yeah. Um, and all of a sudden I'm like, wow, these guys actually kind of suck. I don't want to deploy with these
Yeah,
guys.
exactly.
I was really lucky that I had the platoon sergeant that I talked about earlier at the time. Um, kind of took me under his wing a little bit until we got some really good squad leaders and team leaders into the platoon. And I think that he's probably the biggest reason that I didn't become that way as far as a mentor is concerned. They
So
didn't really have any other mentors at that
gotcha.
time.
I think this really boils down to right away, you need to pay attention to the circles that you're around because it very quickly starts to become your personality and you don't even realize it. And I think that really just correlates directly to the squad leaders. Squad leaders are so just solid squad leaders are so imperative because they have to be able to identify that and just exactly what you said, bring them under their wing a little bit and say, no, listen, keep that fucking mindset. Listen, you never know what's going to happen. We could be fucking on this Mew. We could be fucking over in Iraq 2 seconds later. Always be
Yep.
ready. And that I think that's very, very important.
And that's something that the culture article and for the most part, the discussions that came after it touched on was Marines come in and they're motivated. What happens is they get seniors who aren't, they kind of suck, and they look up to these guys, so they try mimicking them.
Yes. Perfect.
What needs to happen
Exactly what
is you
happens.
realize, hey, like after deployment, hey, we're going to get a bunch of new guys in soon. What are we going to do? Who's getting out? Who does not give a crap about the Marine Corps anymore? Who's a
Separate
short
them.
timer?
Yeah.
You're going to go over to this company, this platoon,
H and
whatever it
S.
is. You're going
Yeah.
to come over here until you EAS or PCS to another unit. We don't have to deal with you.
Yeah, exactly.
We're going to bring in all these new guys. They're going to be surrounded by a bunch of hitters who
Yep.
give a crap about the Marine Corps. They give a crap about the next generation because they know, hey, I might not be seeing combat. This guy very likely is going to see combat. It's 2024. We're expecting
Yep.
something by 2027.
Yep.
This kid's probably going to see combat in his time. And if he doesn't see combat, the guy that comes after him almost 100% is going to,
Yep.
because that's just the way that wars happen.
So let's be real then. Whose job is that? Is that a young lieutenant? Is that a captain, or is that staff NCO? Maybe that corporal, that squad leader.
I'd say it is up to, for let's say an infantry battalion, the battalion commander should be pushing it. And obviously, I'm saying this is a corporal, so
No,
I
of
don't.
course, of course, of course. We're just
But
quarterbacking this here.
the way that I see it on my little armchair as I'm sitting up here, hey, he needs to do this. Battalion commanders should push down to company commanders what they expect to happen when they come back from a deployment, or as they're coming towards a bunch of guys EASs. And you're starting to see this more short timer mentality. If that doesn't happen, then the company commanders need to push down to the platoon commanders. Hey, we're going to make a fourth platoon. All these guys are going to go over here. They're going to sit there. Make sure that your platoons are ready to take in new guys, get them under their wing, and get them trained up to be ready to go out and fight. If the company commander can't do that, and again, it might not be that the battalion commander, company commander, whoever sucks.
Yep.
Stuff happens. Tasks come down from higher. There are other things that they have to be worried about than what's going on at these company, platoon, squad level.
Yep.
So it's not necessarily their fault that these crappy guys are getting put in with these new guys and kind of spreading that mentality of I don't care. If it can't happen at the company level, then a platoon commander should say, "Hey, fourth squad, sending everybody here. All three squads are going to be who we're planning on keeping for the deployment, for the next workup, whatever it is." The highest level that should be able to do it needs to do it, and be able to push that guidance down to their lower subordinates. The bigger the separation that can happen, the better. Because a kid that's in first platoon might still interact with a guy that's in fourth platoon at a barracks party.
Yep.
And over time, they might become friends, and they start realizing, wow, this guy, like, super cool, this weird high school immature, I don't give a crap mentality. I want to keep doing that. So obviously the highest level that can happen at realistically is the best way to go. But any separation that can be done, even if it's squad leader being like, look, man, you're a GP Lance Corporal who's done 3.5 years in. You don't give a crap about your job. You don't give a crap about the organization or about the people in it, which I'd say is significantly more important, because people make an organization. Organizations don't make people.
Very true.
If I see you trying to spread your malingering BS to these kids, then I'm going to bring it up to the platoon commander, and we're going to see what we can do.
We're gonna stomp that shit out.
You have to be able to make that separation at whatever level you're at. And I haven't had to do that. I'm, again, armchair quarterbacking this.
Of course, of course.
But the way
I think this is the
see
start of it, though, bro. Just having this hard conversation is imperative, because
Yeah.
it identifies some sort of problem that's going on, and it can start to be addressed at those levels.
Yeah. And we were really lucky our company had this conversation while we were on our way back from the deployment with the guys that are already squad leaders, who are going to be squad leaders, who are already team leaders, and who are going to be team leaders. We eventually came to the conclusion of, even if we can't move them into different platoons or sections or get them out of the company entirely, there has to be an established boundary of, you don't hang out with this guy. Whether you're saying that to the senior guy, you're saying that to the junior guy about the senior guy, or both. You're just like, you guys don't interact, because this kid has potential. You don't need to mess that up and then make him look back on his 4 years of the Marine Corps 10 years down the line and think, wow, I could have done a lot better.
Yep. Yep.
Because no one wants to look back on their time in the Marine Corps negatively.
I'm happy that you brought that up, man, because I don't know if some people are scared to talk about that stuff because they don't want the magnifying glass on them. But these are real things that young Marines are dealing with, and for them to change, we got to talk about them. We got to identify what the root of the problem is, and we got to figure out ways to try to get around it or fix them. And there's always billets, there's always stay busy jobs that you can place a malingerer or just like a straight up shitbag like that to keep him out of the way, if you will. But yeah, I think it's a great
always
topic.
needs gate guards.
Absolutely, absolutely. Okay, let's switch gears a little bit, brother. So you kind of you talked a little bit. Did you say you were on float when Abbey went down?
Yeah, we were on the USS Arlington off the coast of Haiti, when Abigail went down.
Talk to me
Um,
about that a little bit, man. Talk to me about how you felt. I mean, you guys are shit fucking kitted up with everything. You're able to get over there. I mean, how does it feel when you hear that your brothers are fucking going through some shit? You can't get over there, man. Because I know the feeling.
so obviously, I hit the fleet in March 2021, and in August 2021, we were sent to Haiti for the humanitarian relief. We were all psyched, because we were seeing what was going on there. And like, we're actually going to get to go potentially do the thing.
Yeah.
And we get there, and it's, hey, we're going off the ship tomorrow. Like the same thing that it was out on the Mew. Hey, we're going off ship 2 days from now. All right, the end of the week. All right, stand by. We're a trap unit. That wasn't the plan when we left, but
Yeah.
okay, we do what we're told.
Yeah.
And like I said, I was up on the boat deck, just kind of hanging out up there trying to make a call because they let us get on our phones because there wasn't really much of an OPSEC thing going on. They wanted it to be visible,
Yep.
from what I understand. I'm just a brand spanking new Lance
Gotcha.
Corporal at this point. I have no clue what's going on,
Of
but
course.
all I know is I could be on my phone and call home.
Yeah.
I'm up there trying to get some signal, and I hear some guys like kind of muttering, and all of a sudden I hear it loud and clear. 13 Marines just got killed in Afghanistan.
Yep.
It was not even like a moment of shock. Like there was like the wait a minute. Oh, okay. Very quickly went from this shock into this. I hate to use the word righteous fury, but I'd feel like that's the best way to say it. Like you aren't just angry for the sake of being angry. You're angry because they just killed, even though you don't know them. I didn't know any of those guys, but they were still my
Of
brothers. They're
course.
still
Of course.
Marines
Of
and
course.
sisters. And you want to do something about it. And when you're already out there and we're not doing anything after we were told we're going to, immediately we were like, let's go, let's go, let's go. Get us out there. Let us do it. It's like I said, we were ready to go. We expected to be in at least taking occasional fire when we went there. We brought the ammo for it. Um, but at the end of the day, they just brought us back. And I'm not going to talk about any of the reasons that I heard were behind it because I'm still active duty. I
Yeah,
just
we
really
can't
want to see what's
speculate. Yeah,
going
I
on
got you. I
place.
got you. No worries.
But at least personally, it hurt.
Of course.
Like,
Of course.
so we got sent out for this mission. We didn't do. Marines get killed, and then we don't go help them. It
What
sucked. It
what the
really
fuck?
sucked.
Yeah,
And then
I hear
after
you.
that, uh, one of the U.S. aid workers got killed by the gangs there, and a bunch of U.S. Canadian missionaries got kidnapped about a month later. And that I'd say was the lowest point in my Marine Corps career was hearing those guys got kidnapped, because that's exactly why we were there. Um, Obviously, people have had a lot worse times than me. Like mine is just, oh, I didn't get to do my job. That sucks. A lot of people have come home without their best friends.
Yeah, of
So
course.
I have no right to say that that was like, oh, this terrible, horrible thing that happened to me. It didn't even really affect my life, but it still sucks when you feel like you are here to do something and they just will not let you do it.
Yeah. And you can't really understand it either because you're
Yeah.
just E3, E4, and all you want to do is fucking kill, 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 but or
Yeah.
just protect or handle the problem. You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? And it just these things get sorted out way, way above you. So all you can do is just be ready at the end of the day.
Hmm.
But I hear you now. Now tell me this, and if you don't want to talk about it, that's fine. When you heard about what went down afterwards at Abbey Gate, how'd you feel, man? Because I'm over here. I've talked to a couple people about this. Some that were there, some that weren't, and I don't know how to feel, man. I would think afterwards some people were going to get in trouble about it. You know what I'm saying? But from what I understand, someone had PID. They saw what was going on. They identified a threat. They radioed up to higher, and they got a.
Straight
We
up and
can put.
wait.
Yeah, that to me. Oof. See, I've been in similar situations to that. So when I was in Afghanistan in Helmand in the uh, Delaram district, we were attached to a AHP, Afghan Highway Patrol, and Afghan Army battalion, and we did exactly what you were just talking about earlier. We had an AO and we set up patrol bases all down this road. And one night, one of the PBs we had set up was right outside our AO, so technically we couldn't respond QRF to them. They got ambushed, and a bunch of guys that we had been with for a while got killed, and a staff NCO made the call to not go there. But we drove all the way out there. We saw it happening, but he just didn't want to go. Probably like a mile down the road because why? He didn't want to get chewed out, possibly lose his rank versus save some people. I mean, I've seen it, and to me, I always try to put myself in the other person's position. I don't know. And keep in mind we're just Monday morning quarterbacking here, and there could be other things that we don't understand or don't know. But I'm going to take the ass chewing. I'll take the demotion if it comes to that. Ribbon chasing and just trying to avoid an ass chewing. I just never understood why someone would just choose that versus doing the damn thing.
And I'm gonna sound like an idiot bringing up a Navy SEAL leadership book, I feel like, but Jocko Willing talks about you need to know when to play the game, and you need to know when you have to say, "All right, man, you're the boss. I'll do what you're telling me to do." Again, I've never been in that position. I don't believe that people's lives are the time when you have to play the game,
Yeah, we'll say
especially when you're in the position to where you know you can do something,
exactly. Yeah.
but you don't.
Yep.
As for how I felt after that, obviously it sucked being told we might be going and then not go. Um, I'm gonna try to avoid again because I am still active duty
Of course. Of course.
and I'm not willing to do this over an
Compromise.
opinion.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
hear you.
it was disappointing. That's what I'll say. It was pretty disappointing.
I think people can read
And I
between the
think,
lines there.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So let's see. Another thing I wanted to bring up. I mean, what's it like even being in the Marine Corps right now, bro? There's so much shit going on in the world. And it seems like we're just stuck in the mud, not able to do anything. I'd be fucking freaking the fuck out, my friend. Like, what are you even getting ready for? Who are we pointing the finger at? You know what I'm saying? So where's your head right now, man? I mean, are you possibly thinking about staying in down the line to see some of this, or you think you might, go the other route? And
So right now I'm putting in an application to the Naval Academy. We'll see how that
oh, okay,
goes. Uh, I only did it because I said, look, I want a commission. It's another route. I didn't necessarily want to go to the Naval Academy. I ended up saying to myself, if my command brings it up to me and suggests I do it, then I'll go with it. And my dad was trying to push me into it. And I said, look, I'll do it if they suggest it. The day after I told him that, our first sergeant walked into the mess hall, put down the application packet in front of me and said, hey, the
come on,
commander of troops said that you should probably fill this out and give it a
that's
shot.
funny. That's
And he
funny,
walked off and I'm just sitting there over my like
motherfucker.
really sad Navy chow. And I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. And my buddy looks at me, he's like, what's going on? I'm like, you have no clue. um, Other than that, I have orders to go up to Quantico to OCS to train up there with their tactics guys, hopefully. If the Naval Academy thing doesn't work out, I did that because I want to try to spend more time focusing on college, trying to get that knocked out so I can go through MECEP. But as we were still on the deployment, doing the translant back to the States, I decided I wanted to stay in the fleet, at least if the Naval Academy thing doesn't work out. I'm not the brightest guy. I didn't do the
Oh,
best in high
stop it.
school. If I get the Naval Academy appointment, I think it's very obvious that God's trying to push me to go there. So I wouldn't turn that down.
Gotcha.
But if that doesn't happen, I want to stay in the fleet. I want to deploy again. I'm trying to get orders to go over to another unit that's deploying.
Okay.
soon.
If
You
I
wanna
could,
go-
if I could weigh in at all on that, bro, and listen, take it with a grain of salt. Stay far away from Quantico. It's I've been there. It's if you enjoy the fleet at all, where you're at, it's just a totally different fucking beast. And if I could recommend anything to anyone in right now, I would just stay away from there, man. It's
Yeah.
I can already tell from what you've told me, it's not what you want to do over there. I mean, I can see you want to be active, you want to sharpen your blade, and you want to do the damn thing. And honestly, Quantico is where people like that go to die because there's no such thing as the field out there. I mean, I can understand guys that train, for OCS and stuff like that. And honestly, I'm not sure. I've talked to a few guys that have done that, and some have liked it, and some have not. I think it just depends on the individual. I think it might be kind of like a fast environment. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
But I mean, to each their own. But
Yeah.
kind of weigh in a little bit more what it's like to be in with all the stuff going on in the world, man. Because let's not be political, but I mean, you're in the Marines. I can kind of guess which way you sway. I kind of put myself in your position.
I
Attaboy.
wonder which way.
There we go. Um, it's unsettling. It's unsettling. How can you feel confident with a leader with the leadership just showing their absolute worst side at all times during this time? I mean, what example does that show you guys? I mean, I think you really just have to be strong-minded and really just I mean, shit, you tell me, man. You're in right now. I'm not.
Doing the best I can to avoid politics here. Um, I'd say you kind of just have to not really care. I can't affect what is outside of my circle. If I start worrying about that, then I'm not going to be focused on what's going on inside of my ability to
The stuff
affect
that you can
change.
affect. Yeah, exactly.
The best as a corporal, as a team leader that I can do is make sure that I'm ready and make sure my buddies around me are ready and the guys in my team are ready. As a squad leader, best you can do is your squad and maybe the squads around you, and it just goes up the chain. If you start worrying about stuff way outside of your control, then you're failing the people around you and you're failing yourself.
Well said.
Because I don't want to be downrange someday. I'm thinking, oh man, this sucks. I got put here because of X, Y, and Z. This person's terrible politics, terrible policy, whatever. When I really need to be focused on getting home and getting home with all of my guys. So I do my best not to think about it too much. And
Well
I
said.
really do my best to not let it affect how I do my job.
I think you're right, man. I think when you start worrying too much about stuff like that, it affects the stuff that you can control. It takes your, the stuff that you can touch, the tangible things, and it takes your attention away from them, and they start to dwindle. I think that's well said, man. Okay, so what about this, man? I see that you have a presence online. What's it like to be in a Marine Corps today, where like social media can really affect things, man? I mean, I think there's pros and cons to each, but I think you definitely have the ability to push certain things that are good on these platforms. So talk to me about it, man.
I really do. I do what I can. I have a very small following. I only have like 600 some odd followers right now. But really, I do what I can to try to be a part of the conversation to the extent that I feel like I can benefit or contribute. The Marine Corps, and it seems like they're doing a very good job of realizing this, needs to be able to win in the social media space. Right now, we are in gray zone warfare with Russia, excuse me, and China. They are, through bot accounts, through all this stuff, trying to push the narrative that the United States sucks. The United
Yep.
States isn't ready.
Yep.
And I feel like people who are relatively well-meaning, even a lot of veterans, do the same thing. They always bring up the negatives in the military. Oh, it's going well. Oh, these many people are getting out of shape. Oh, this, that, and the other, even though they're out and it's not really affecting them directly. They're just getting online and they're complaining and they're making
Yeah.
people lose confidence in the Marine Corps and the military as a whole. We need to be able to push the idea and prove the idea that the Marine Corps is ready.
We'll talk about that, man, because that's something that sometimes, guys in my circles worry about because they see what's going on today. And you're right, we are unplugged. We're not in, so we don't know. So we need guys like you to fucking tell us to shut the fuck up and say, listen, we're fucking ready. This is we are as lethal as you guys were. So talk about that, man. Tell me how you're honestly, how do you feel about the Marine Corps today?
I think that I want to be honest here because I think this is something where
It's all you can do.
Marines should be able to be part of this conversation. If I get flack for it, so be it. I think the Marine Corps is ready to handle a number of problems, but more importantly, it's ready to be able to adapt to issues that we can't foresee. I see a lot of stuff about Force Design 2030. I think
I was
that
going to ask you about that.
for
Yep.
some parts it's good, but there are a lot of parts where you can poke holes into it.
Yeah.
Especially when you start bringing up hypersonic ballistic missiles
I knew you were going to
and
say
cruise
something about that.
missiles. The abilities to be able for us to get touched and not really be able to keep ourselves from doing that or shoot back, but we're planning on putting guys out on islands. From what I understand, we're still trying to look at ways to defend the Marines on those islands. But at the same time, I do believe that there's a lot of technology that we have that is not public yet, and that we're
Facts.
not going to make public.
Facts.
I was just talking about it today, the F-117 Nighthawk. That technology was started getting developed in 1975,
I know.
and
I
we're
know.
still flying those
I
today.
know.
I think only one got shot down in the Yugoslav war by a Lucky Sam missile.
What? I
The
mean,
F-22 Raptor was designed in the 1990s, and it's still hypothetically, obviously it hasn't been tested in air-to-air combat dogfighting, but hypothetically, that is
it
the
still runs the
deadliest
skies.
fighter.
Yeah.
It is the deadliest fighter in the world. And I
Yep.
honestly believe it is. The capabilities it has, that is demonstrated publicly, are unbelievable.
Yep.
So I put the hope that we have stuff that we're not coming out with so that the enemy does not begin to plan around that capability. Also, I 100% believe that if it comes down to brass tacks and an enemy rifleman has to hop in a trench, try to get a Marine rifleman out of it, it's not going to happen. I
Shit,
honestly
man.
believe that.
I
And I
think I
really,
think it's just wild that we see trench warfare in this time. Like, I mean, I'm sure you've been seeing the stuff with with Russia and I mean, trench warfare in 2024, man, with the weapons that we have right now, that is fucking insane.
I think that a big part of that is Russia does not have the logistic capability to be able to quickly push deep into a country like we were able to do with Iraq in 2003. Ukraine does not have the combat arm or logistical capability to be able to fully repel a Russian push
Yeah, I don't think they have the
or to be able
people.
to get them back off their land. As a result of that, lines are going to get drawn. It's going to be hard to beat that. And
Kind of get to a
Rommel
stalemate.
talked about it in his book Attacks. the best thing that an infantry marine can do, or that an infantryman can do, obviously Rommel wasn't an infantry marine. The best thing a grunt can do as soon as they stop is start digging a hole. And
Are
over
you
time,
quoting a German general?
yes, I am, because he was one of the best infantry
Yes, you
officers
what?
the
No,
world has ever
I
seen.
agree. It's just you pulled that out of
Over
nowhere on
time,
me. Okay.
one grunt digs a hole, he's going to want to start being able to connect with the buddies to his left and right. And eventually you start seeing these trenches form, these large defenses that keep getting larger and larger over time. I think it was really inevitable when you put, it's like a weak version of an unstoppable force versus an immovable object. Even though Ukraine's not necessarily immovable, Russia's not necessarily unstoppable, but their capabilities are able to match each other at this point. So they're just kind of going to sit here until one gets the upper hand.
Yeah. No, you articulated that perfectly because I mean, technically, Ukraine is immovable. I mean, not technically, but they are on their home turf, if you will.
Mhm.
And Russia isn't. I like how you put that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because let's be real, if it was the United States trying to push into Ukraine, it would
See
have
you
been
later. Would have been done.
different.
Yeah.
If it was Russia trying to push into the United States, it would have been different.
Yeah.
But
I
these two
agree.
powers are so evenly matched that eventually the lines aren't going to move and the grunts are going to want to start building trenches because you don't want
Yeah.
to sit out in an open field or
I
in a
mean,
building that's just
honestly,
getting
isn't
artillery
it gonna
fire.
just boil down to who has more bodies?
Um, I don't think it's necessarily bodies because obviously Russia has the manpower capability upper hand significantly. But Ukraine has the firepower capability, and that's kind of where it's evening out.
Gotcha.
Who's going to come out on top? Right now, I'd have to say probably Russia because
Yeah.
Ukraine is only going to be able to get so much support from the outside and only has so much internal capabilities production. There's going to have to be a significant uh, occurrence to keep Russia from eventually getting the upper hand. Because over time, the guy with more bodies is going to overpower the guy with less
Yeah.
firepower and less
Yeah.
bodies.
Yeah.
Luckily, they're matched as it is, but that might change.
I think though we're lucky to be. I don't want to say we're lucky to not be actively fighting, but we're lucky to be able to see this real time, to kind of just adjust our tactics left and right a little bit to start to get ready for the drone warfare, if you will,
Yeah,
because that's not something that we've faced yet. Um, and we're watching warfare evolve, and not so much just the things that we're talking about right now on the ground, but disinformation is proving to be a significant tactic nowadays, and it's showing what it can affect real time, and we're seeing just the sway of power change over who controls the narrative.
yeah,
Pretty wild.
100%. And I think that nothing replaces combat experience. But at the same time, we need to be able to look at what's going on around us and what has happened before us and draw from that as much as we can. That's why the Marine Corps is so big into, especially for officers, pushing the reading of history, pushing the writings of former officers like the French, I can't remember his name, but the French officer who wrote Infantry in Battle after World War One, like Erwin Rommel, who wrote Attacks after World War One. And at the same time, when I joined the infantry, at least in SOI, and right after we joined, there was nothing about drone evasion. Like we had no clue what to do, and we didn't think about it. After we started seeing drone warfare pop up, it went from, oh, we'll hide behind a tree to maybe we need to start putting shotguns
Yeah.
in the squad
Yep.
to, hey, let's use these devices to turn off drones as they're coming in so they kind of just fall
Yep.
dead in the air and hit the ground,
EMP
hopefully
stuff.
not injuring any personnel. we're already seeing that. I've seen some combat footage of them using similar uh, capabilities over in Ukraine.
Yep.
I'm not going to talk too much on that because I don't know what that's
Ops
sitting
that
at as far as
involves. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
publicity. And I really don't even know much about it. All I know is that we are developing the capabilities to be able to avoid this. And
Agreed.
we're already seeing those capabilities in Ukraine, so I don't think it's that big of a deal for me to say that. And
Of
it's
course.
kind of an obvious conclusion.
Yeah, I
Um,
agree. I agree. So, switching gears again on you, talk to me about this PME that got adapted, man. Talk to me about what it's really saying and what it felt like to have something that you bled over, put out there. I mean, that takes a lot, man. I mean, I kind of know a little bit about it because I did the podcast and I was unsure about it and I put myself out there and it's kind of catching to a certain degree. But what's it like to be uncertain about something that you truly love and have it get it adopted on such a level that it has, man? I'm that's crazy. Talk about it.
Again, I don't think that would have happened at all without Damien, the support I got from the Warfighting Society, and all the people that were willing to help me out with writing that and make sure it didn't suck. Um, it's really weird. I gotta say that as a corporal, seeing such a massive response that I got from that article, and a little made me a little nervous. I'm like, whoa, the 5 paragraph roughly or 5 part article introduction and then went into 4 different sections basically talking about different stuff that unit leaders can do to try to improve the culture and the preparation of new infantry marines coming into the fleet. I didn't think at all that it was going to get the response that it did, especially as quickly as it did. I published it and like 2 days later I was getting told that it was,
Oh wow.
yeah. um I really like, I don't know what to say. It
I mean,
was
does it give you
cool.
some form of confidence?
It definitely helps with the confidence as far as like I think maybe I'm not that dumb, but at the same time, like I anything that was written in the article wasn't anything new. There was nothing new in that. It was just me bringing up things of, hey, I've seen people do this. Maybe we should start trying to do that, or at least
Do
make
something
it
about it. Yeah.
understood that this is the expectation. And that's something that they said in the response to it is they part of why they made it PME is it sets an expectation for the seniors coming in and getting new guys of this is what you need to give these guys. Sets an expectation for new guys coming in the fleet of if your seniors aren't giving this to you, they are failing you and you need to seek it out. Um, again, I don't like taking a lot of credit for it because I just wrote stuff down. I
Stop
just
being humble. Stop being humble. You did the damn thing, man. Be proud of yourself.
it's something I'm proud of, but at the same time, like I took what I felt was common sense and wrote it. Um, and again, like I said, I wouldn't have been able to do that without all the people that helped me out at all.
So I kind of want your opinion on something. I've interviewed a couple of young officers that have came on the show, and I want I want to give them kind of a view inside your head a little bit. So you're a young squad leader,
I'm a
corporal,
team leader.
team leader. Okay.
Mhm.
What do you expect from a young lieutenant? What do you want to see? What do you need to see from a lieutenant that's just coming in to be how can he be the most effective to not only motivate you but to lead you guys into the arena? What do you need to see from him?
As far as because obviously, if you get a Mustang second lieutenant,
Not a
there's different
Mustang, not a Mustang,
expectations.
not a
Yeah,
Mustang.
you get a brand new second lieutenant. I was really lucky. My first platoon commander was a Mustang. He was an absolute stud.
I'm sure.
Uh, My second platoon commander was not, but he was just as good, exactly what I'd expect out of a new lieutenant, not in a negative way, exactly what I'd want from a new lieutenant.
What made him good? Tell me.
Humility. He was
Humility?
mature enough to understand that he did not have all the answers, and he was willing to look to his squad leaders
I think that's
and his
imperative.
platoon sergeant for what needs to get done, especially if he had no clue. He didn't
I'm
try to
happy you said
BS
that.
it or fly by the seat of his pants unless he felt like he could pull it off. From what I understood, again, obviously I was relatively junior. Sorry, dry throat. Um, but he was confident enough for us to not be worried that he wasn't going to be able to lead us, and humble enough to be able to look at the squad leaders and the platoon
Ask
sergeant,
those questions.
but
Yep.
be able to figure out, hey, here's what I want to do. What do you think? That's cool, sir. Or hey, maybe we want to change this up a little bit. And then humble enough to be able to take that and go, all right, thank you, Sergeant,
Use
Staff
it as
Sergeant,
constructive
whatever.
criticism. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Instead of taking it personally as, oh, this guy doesn't think I can lead.
Yep.
Obviously, I've never been in those shoes. Hopefully I am one day, God willing. But that's what I'd hope for. I think that if a platoon commander comes in with just two things, he's humble enough to take constructive criticism from people who've been around the block a little bit longer, but also confident enough to not be afraid to lead
Yeah.
and be able to look at someone and say, I get that. I'm the boss. We just have to do this. Because sometimes he might have a perspective that someone else doesn't. He might have a commander's intent passed down to him that people don't understand. And he needs to be confident enough to be able to, in that situation, look at a person who might be a little bit more experienced than him and say, I understand that, but I'm in charge. I'm ultimately responsible. This is what we're going to do. And
Yeah.
then if the time comes, he allows himself to be held responsible and he doesn't try pointing the finger and saying, oh, well, the junior Marines screwed this up. The squad leaders weren't aggressive enough. My platoon sergeant kind of left me out to dry. I haven't seen any of that from platoon
You,
commanders.
you will.
I'm sure I will. Like I said, I've been very lucky. I have seen one thing I have seen that I don't like is some officers seem to come in with the idea that their staff knows, so they have to present like this Hollywood image of what a Marine officer, a Marine leader is. And I remember seeing one officer doing it who's a pretty cool dude. Probably shouldn't say that, not an officer, but he's a good
No, I hear you.
officer, he's
I
a good
get you. I
person.
get you. Yeah.
Um, but it seemed like he had this idea that he had to be someone who he really wasn't. Everyone can see through that. When you're trying to act like the super salty sergeant or the company gunny who doesn't give a crap and he's just going to absolutely slay you, people can smell that a mile away,
Yeah, absolutely.
especially the corporals and lance corporals.
Facts.
And really, like, and you're going to lose credit from those guys,
Yeah.
but especially from the sergeants, the staff sergeants, the gunnies, because it's going to seem like he's trying to play your role more.
Yeah.
If the staff sergeant's running around, he's like, what is wrong with you guys? You guys need to get up, do this, X, Y, Z, and the other, like acting like you'd think a staff sergeant would act. To a certain extent, you're not going to look at him and go, who does this guy think he is? Especially if he's proven that that's the type of person who he can be. But when a brand new lieutenant comes in, they're trying to act like Gunny Highway or Major Payne. Everyone can see
It's
that
not
you're
gonna work.
acting and you're not.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's not going to work. Like people see through that and you're going to lose a lot of respect.
absolutely. I hear you. You're right.
And I think that just comes from kind of like when you see kids come out of boot camp and they're
Experience. Yeah.
a little too confident.
Yeah. Yep.
Like I remember I saw that like the meme, how hard are you? Oh, I'm hard. Show me. And it's a kid in his dress blues, little PSC stripe.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, that's probably I think the enlisted equivalent of that is thinking that you are John Basilone. You just walked off of a recruit depot. At the end, the biggest thing is just be humble, be confident, and don't try to be someone you're not.
Absolutely. Well
And
said.
it doesn't just go for officers, that goes for
Anyone in the
obviously not
leadership
having
position.
stepped into that squad leader role, but I'd say that probably goes for squad leaders. It goes for team leaders, and I'd say it really goes for the new guy. Is no one wants the wimpy new kid who's afraid to step up, afraid to mess up, who's afraid of doing something wrong. But no one wants the guy who is too confident to be taught.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's not just an officer thing. I think it's just a basic a basic guy thing. Don't show up somewhere trying to be someone you're not being confident enough to take criticism or humble enough to take criticism, but being confident enough to where if someone's getting in your face and getting on you for something, you're able to say, as the new guy, look, here's what I did, here's why I do it, or here's why I did it. I understand that I'm wrong. Please show me how not to do this again. As the officer, it's going to be more of being able to step into that leadership role, and as the squad leader and team leader as well. But again, like just it's basic dude stuff. If you're a
Yeah,
good sergeant, there's a good chance that maybe you're not as good at the office stuff with the officer side, but you should be able to
pick it up.
be that kind of a leader.
I hear you. All right. Well, we're at about an hour, brother. Why don't you leave us with something? I think we kind of encompassed a few different topics here. We kind of showed where you're at in today's Marine Corps, and I think we both understand that maybe a lot of enlisted right now kind of don't know where they stand or where the Marine Corps is going. What's some advice you'd leave them with?
Again, you can only control what is inside your sphere of influence. Don't get sucked into, oh, this politician said XYZ, or oh, this social media personality, this influencer says the Marine Corps sucks or the military sucks. My platoon sergeant is a bit of a jackass sometimes. Like, whatever it is that's making you focus on something external that you can't change, do your best to zone that out and focus on yourself and focus on the guys around you. Because when the time comes, again, speaking as someone who hasn't been there, but from what I understand, when the time comes, you don't care what the president is talking about, or some senator or representative or whatever. You don't care what they're saying or what they're telling you to do. You don't care what this journalist is saying about how ill prepared the military is because of wokeism or whatever other crap. Sure, this guy may be a jerk, but you can't control that. You can't change that. Doesn't matter who it is. There's only so much you can do. What you can do is stick with your guys to your left and your right, your brothers and your sisters, and be ready to take the fight to the enemy. That's all you can do. From what I understand, from what I can collect, and whether it's in war or peacetime, that's just the way it is.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head there, brother. Well, there you have it. Corporal Joshua Sulentic from 1-6, team leader, coming at us straight out of Colorado. I appreciate you coming on the show today, brother, and hopefully we can talk again, my friend.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
Hoorah.
Rah.